Who is, now you've seen all 10 episodes, who would you say was the most underrated player in the Bulls in the 90s?
Michael Jordan.
Underrated?
No.
Underrated.
Probably
To me, I
Horace
say
Grant.
Rodman.
I'd say Dennis the Menace, a.k.a. Steve Kerr.
Jess?
Might be Horace Grant, because I didn't realize he was such a pivotal piece in their like first three-peat. He was like, I guess, a key part. He was their main big man back when big men mattered. So I'd say Horace.
Yeah, he was guarding Karl Malone and Barkley and David Robinson and Ewing. He was in the trenches.
Right.
I would also agree with Horace Grant, or I'd say Scottie Pippen. Like, everyone knows Scottie was clearly the second best player, but some people think Scottie Pippen was the second best player in the league at the time, which I don't know if I'd go that far, but I don't think people realize how good Scottie was, especially undervalued. He was getting paid $1 million a year, which is just insane.
So
ridiculous.
2 points on that. One, given his upbringing, like, he did choose that. Like, I forget, he had like 8 or 9 siblings, and they had like no money, and like his goal was financial stability. So like when they offered him like 7 years, $1 million a year, whatever it was, or what around that mark, like he wanted that financial stability more than he thought he was going to earn, if that makes sense. Like he didn't realize like 2 years later, it's like, oh, I'm actually worth $5 million a year. Like, this sucks. But at the time, he's just like, it was the end of his, 2 years in the season, his career, 3 years, or whatever it was. It's like, I want that payday to make sure my family is secure. So like part of it was he chose that. So I always thought that was a little interesting with Pippen. Second, I think it's fascinating that the player that was perhaps the most well-equipped to stop Jordan defensively was always on his team.
Right.
Like, if you were going to construct a defensive player to stop Jordan, it's a 6'7", 6'8", plays like a guard, has quick feet, like can keep up with Jordan to a certain extent physically, like has the long arms. Like, if there was a guy to stop Jordan, he was on his team for 10 years, which is kind of some crazy luck.
I know. This would be like if LeBron played with Paul George. Yeah, this would be like if LeBron played with like a Paul George his entire career. Like, he never had a teammate like that who played at that level.
Not organically, yeah, because that's what the difference is. Like, the Bulls drafted Pippen and Grant, and then they became a dynasty. The Cavs were inept, so LeBron had to go find his players that could help him in Miami.
Right.
For sure.
Which is tough that had to happen that way. And the decision rubs everyone the wrong way. If he would have just said, I'm going to Miami, I would have been like, okay. But it was the decision that was made it a little. The optics were tough, even though he raised money for charity. Like, people didn't even care.
He raised that was a charity thing too? I didn't know that was part of it.
Yeah, the money went to the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh.
But everyone was like, we don't even care about the boys and girls. You went to Miami? Come on.
I honestly, like, I know the decision rubbed people the wrong way. The decision did not rub people the wrong way to me at all. The parade the next day where he's like, not 1, not 2, not 3.
That didn't help.
It was like, okay, you're setting the bar pretty high here, and then you lost that year, and then you lost in your 4th year there, so.
Right.
1-2.
Can you imagine how irate Jordan would have been if he would have lost to a finals team comprised of Dirk Nowitzki and JJ Barea as like the 2 like stars of the finals?
A bunch of old men.
And Sean Marion.
Well, Dirk had his own 2 game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jason Kidd in his last legs.
Not food poisoning.
Dirk swept Kobe and the Lakers to get to that. And then didn't he beat the Thunder or the Spurs too? It was one of those teams in the East.
They had a good run. Yeah, I don't remember who they all beat.
Spurs, I think.
Just a crazy run. Crazy.
So I feel like we're all in agreement that MJ is awesome, but what did you guys think about how the documentary was like put together and like as a viewing experience? Did you enjoy it? Because I feel like if you're making a movie or a documentary about MJ, you're already going to be blown away because it's MJ and it's a crazy story and he's like a remarkable person. But personally, I wasn't blown away by like the quality of the documentary itself. But I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts.
I appreciated the time jumps. I saw a lot of complaints on Twitter about the time jumps, but I thought
I didn't like it.
I thought it made it much more engaging in that if it would have just been a straight chronological telling, I feel like it would have been a little boring. It was cool to see how different events in the past lined up with what was going on in the 98 season, even if some of those were forced. I thought that made it more engaging and enjoyable to me. I did think it was definitely a Jordan puff piece, though, but it was only ever going to be made if it was going to be a Jordan puff piece, and I appreciate that it got made. So,
sure.
Overall, and I enjoyed it. It's not the best documentary I've ever seen, but it was good.
Yeah. I feel like I think the timelines were helpful to get a lot of perspective, but I feel like the way they did it was really confusing. I'm not as familiar with like the sports stats and history as you guys are, and personally I was really struggling to keep up and like track the story. And maybe like halfway through I started to catch the rhythm of it and understand like what was going on, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would say for like your NBA fanatic, it definitely was probably more enjoyable because you'd see a player flash on the screen and you knew what decade or what year they were from without having to like them to tell you. So like there was a point where my wife like looked up, she's like, wait, are they in 1998 or 1996? And I was like, because she was like knitting, and I'm like, well, it's 1998.
Sure.
They're back to the present now. You know, it's like if you're like looking at your phone or doing something else or like don't really know the players or like the history, it definitely was harder to follow, I'm sure. But anyone who wants it to be like a journalistic, like fair telling, like that's not what it was. It was telling it from Jordan's perspective with like essentially Jordan's approved other perspectives.
Oh, sure. Because he produced it, right?
Their own story. Yeah, I don't know if he was a producer, but two of his best friends were like producers, and it was like, I mean, if Jordan said no, this isn't going in the documentary.
Yeah.
Guess where it was not going. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So
I really loved seeing those clips where like they would hand him a tablet, like this is what Isaiah Thomas said, this is what Magic Johnson said, and he's like, no, that's not right, that's not right, no, he's a jerk. No. I just love to like, no, that's not how it was. His reactions to all those things.
And props to like Isaiah Thomas, like knowing like he gets asked to like probably talk in this Bulls Jordan documentary, and he's got to know like, okay, I'm not going to be painted in any good light in any way, shape, or form, but he still like had the confidence to like come out and say like what he kind of felt, and that he doesn't really feel that.
That's a great point.
You know, against Jordan as much as people like to think he does. Obviously, they still don't like each other, but
right. He did kind of, his expression every time he was interviewed was either like, I made a huge mistake 2 decades ago and I'm just realizing it now, or he just was realizing that they're going to turn whatever he's saying against him.
I think that's what it was. I think he just knew the whole time, like, this is like almost ironic that I'm on this documentary, and it doesn't really matter what I say. Like, Jordan's going to say what he's going to say, so I'll just kind of own it, say it was a mistake, but I wouldn't take it back. Like, that's what we did. And then Jordan laughed.
Totally. Yeah, I was surprised that they got any of the bad boys on the squad. Also, watching this, it was the Bad Boys, right? That's what they called themselves in Detroit.
Yeah.
I really I haven't watched the 30 for 30 doc about the Bad Boys. Have you guys watched that?
Yeah, it's great.
A long time ago, but yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts on the Bad Boys? Do you like them? Just from watching this, I really got annoyed with them, but I don't know everything about them.
I mean, they seem like the epitome of like, love them if they're on your team, but hate them if you're playing against them. Like, if you were in Detroit, you would worship them. Like, they were the best, but everyone else was like, okay, these guys are just over the line. I mean, Isaiah Thomas doesn't get as much credit as he probably deserves. Like, most NBA players, like a lot of NBA players, especially older NBA players, have put him basically behind Magic as the second best point guard. And that's about, he's kind of right in that mix as second, third. And you'll see a lot of contemporary people put your Jason Kidd and your Chris Paul and, people ahead of him that kind of have no business being like. Isaiah Thomas is another example of one of the best teammates. Like, he could have scored 30 a game, but he like actively chose to get his teammates a lot more involved because he knew that he talks about the secret a lot. I've read a book about it, but he talks about like the secret is that it's not about basketball. It's about like teamwork and getting your teammates involved and everyone like being all bought in, and it's not just about basketball. And so like that often gets overlooked historically because his stats don't hold up as much as some of like other players do. just because he wanted to win. That's all he cared about.
And what they were doing couldn't have worked without a point guard like him or just a facilitator like him. Otherwise, it was just a bunch of unskilled big dudes beating each other up and crashing the boards.
Yeah,
they needed a facilitator or a general to get things, lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And just from a narrative perspective, Jordan ain't Jordan without the bad boy Pistons being the supervillains that they were. Jordan becomes the superhero because he was the one who finally took down the team that everyone hated.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Right.
I feel that.
Were you guys' thoughts on episode 7 at the end when Jordan was talking about how he's seen by the general public as like a tyrant, as like, not a good guy, and how like he actually got kind of choked up at the end about it. Like, what do you guys think about that little part? Because that was the most interesting part of the documentary.
He's gone.
That was so weird.
I feel like most kind of people who are into the NBA don't misjudge him. Like, they fully understand he was kind of a dick, but they also fully understand that he was doing whatever it took to win. I feel like it's maybe more of the general public where that opinion is more harmful. And there's definitely, like, if you notice, like, Luke Longley was not in the documentary at all. I mean, he was a somewhat important player on their second three-peat, and he won't talk about Jordan or the Bulls, and he doesn't want any part of it because he was one that Jordan was just like extra hard on, and Luke couldn't ever catch the ball, and he couldn't finish, and it was, I guess, pretty bad. And it's like that's a player that he just never wanted to even really be associated with Jordan again. So like there are definitely those bridges that were burned, but obviously Jordan didn't care if it meant that they won.
Right.
So it depends what you value.
I didn't even notice he wasn't in the doc. That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just shows that, that it doesn't matter that he's not in the doc and that that bridge was burned. We remember Michael and what he was able to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what Jordan would have looked like in the Twitter NBA, where I almost feel like he'd be a lot more viewed like Kevin Durant is, where Jordan takes things so personally, even though he's like so great at basketball, he shouldn't take these stupid little things so personally. And yet, I feel like that's what Kevin Durant does, where he makes burner accounts and replies to people on Twitter who are nobodies. It's like,
oh, that's
dude,
right.
It don't matter.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have been definitely interesting. I mean, he had the media all over him like nobody ever had before, but it was different when it was media that would write a newspaper article as opposed to media who would tweet out everything, instantly, or catch those things in practice and tweet about them live. Like, I mean, it's kind of like when Jimmy Butler like joined the second team Wolves and destroyed Cat and Wiggins.
Oh
and
my
was like,
gosh!
F
Yeah,
everybody. Like, it'd be that, except like every day.
Because it seems like Jordan did those things all the time.
Oh, it was, yeah. I mean, there's
So-
millions of stories that different people have documented, and Phil Jackson they're up 8-0, and then he says, Michael and I have to go on the white team, and he just like loses his mind because he's now losing to himself, I guess.
What a mind fuck. That's so confusing.
So just, I mean, and he'd storm off in practice and leave, and he'd do a lot of crazy things that were just probably not as welcomed if you heard about it instantly today.
Yeah, I think he would have had a real tough time with social media. There's that part in the doc where he is in his hotel room just with the doc crew and is like, oh, this is the only like peaceful time I've got, like when I'm just chilling in my room by myself. And it's like, you wouldn't have that if you had a phone with social media. You'd be like Kevin Durant with burner accounts.
Yep.
Dude, MJ with his security team was hilarious to me. That's a sign of the times that they were his muscle. That makes no sense at all.
I was thinking that the whole time too.
Yeah.
The short white guy with the perm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looked like Beethoven.
Think about the level of fame he got to, though, that like after he won, was it after 98 or 98 or 97, where he's like sitting in his hotel room like doesn't know how to play the piano, but it's just like hitting keys. And there's people who are like, "Oh, this is so interesting. This is so interesting." And they're like all in on it. And he's just like smoking a cigar, just pounding the piano. It's like, I wonder if Jordan was doing that just to watch how like sad it was that they were watching his every move and like, wow, that's so amazing.
He probably was.
Yeah. So here's part 2 of my question to that. Do you think Jordan is happy? Because I think he would do it all over again if he had to do it all over again the way he did it. But do you think today that Jordan is happy with his life?
I think he wishes the Hornets were better. He's been an awful talent evaluator and owner, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, I don't know if I agree with your point about the alcohol and the cigars because, one, he's always smoked cigars since probably he was like in high school. Just that's what he did. It's like to me, it makes like having a little thing of whiskey and smoking cigars like while you're like telling stories seems harmless to me, but maybe it's a bigger sign of something else. I don't know.
He said in the last episode that it was like maddening that he didn't win or didn't get the opportunity to win 7 with the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of made me wonder if maybe he is kind of haunted, which is really concerning if you get 2 3-peats and you're still haunted. He seemed unbearable to be around in terms of how competitive he was about everything.
It'd wear on you for sure.
Yeah, I think he's content with his legacy just based on how the doc was, just because he knows he accomplished something that no other player is going to touch, just with like undefeated in the finals, 2 3-peats. Like it's going to be tough to do that again. So I think he's content with his legacy and just kind of understands that like that competitive outlet is kind of done and that part of his life's behind him.
I would imagine he misses like that competitive aspect. So maybe in that aspect, Beza, like he's not as fulfilled as he was when he was playing. But his competitive nature is still alive and well. Because think about this. So they've had this film since 1998, and like the whole plan was to create a documentary. And then, like every hand, like they made like a rough kind of outline of the documentary. Like back, I forget, it was pretty quickly after 98. And he's like, no, we're not doing this yet. And then like they'd kind of check every like handful of years, like, hey, do we have the blessing from Jordan? Can we go for this? And it's like, no, we're not doing this.
Wow.
And like and so like they do this every so often, and then the LeBron GOAT stuff really starts to gets rolling, and everyone's like, wow, LeBron, like 8 straight finals and took down the Warriors, and he's got to be the GOAT at this point. And then all of a sudden he's like, all right, time to do this documentary. And he just, lights a cigar, gets his glass of whiskey, and he just starts talking about how he's the GOAT. And then everyone in the world is like, Jordan's a GOAT. Never mind. Sorry, we were wrong.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that competitive nature is still definitely alive in him, because that was very calculated.
I think when it came out too, it was calculated just because there's nothing else going on. He'd be the only show in town.
Yeah.
Wait, he waited until Tiger King died down a little bit, and then he was like, let's put it up.
Yeah.
No one can compete with Joe Exotic.
I think it's super interesting how like Kobe, because we were talking about earlier how Jordan and Kobe were so similar in so many ways in their mentality, how they played the game. I mean, Kobe has one less ring than Jordan. But like, it's weird because you see Kobe in retirement, and he looks like he's enjoying life. He looks like he's just, living life to the fullest and, embrace everything, rest in peace to Kobe. But it seemed like at the end of, at retirement, he was enjoying life so much. But Jordan, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's enjoying his retirement. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe way off here, but it seems like his headspace is just, he's just living things day by day and just kind of reflects every day on, not getting that 7th in a way.
Yeah, and Jordan didn't have the cleanest like family life either, where Kobe, granted, way back, Kobe did not have a clean bill that way, but once he kind of matured and had his life set and like the wife and kids, like he had definitely moved on to like putting his whole like body and soul into like raising his kids and like giving them his basketball knowledge and like being around the game and just like even like his show, whatever, I forget what it was called, but his like Mamba whatever show where like they talk about like in-depth like he was just able to talk about the game and like
detail.
Detail.
Oh yeah.
You know, and Jordan, like you kind of said, basically like he's kind of accomplished everything, and you wonder if it's like what else now, like what to do now, like if he feels empty maybe about what's the next task to accomplish.
Right.
Maybe
y'all ready for my theory?
Let's hear it.
Go.
Let's hear it.
I apologize. I'm going to get all Jesus-y on you all, but that's my job. So you're
good.
That's my job.
So C.S. Lewis, and I think originally Irenaeus, I'm not sure on that, has this idea of a God-shaped hole. There's a God-shaped vacuum in our hearts, and we try to put different things in it that we think will make us happy. But the only thing that's truly going to make us fulfilled is the hope of the gospel, the hope of Jesus Christ, which I think Jordan has tried to put success and his legacy and money and all these things in there. And yeah, he's had moments of happiness, but happiness is fleeting, right? And I think Kobe was like that for a lot of his life too, but eventually I think he did find that fulfillment in Christ. Do you guys know where he was the morning he died? He was at church with his daughter. Like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's at Mass. He's a Catholic, right?
Yep.
Not that it matters.
Oh wow! I had no idea.
Yeah, he wanted to take communion with his daughter before the tournament that day.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad, man.
That's wild.
Dude, I cried for days after that happened. It shook me, and I wasn't even a Kobe fan, and it wrecked me and it just was so palpable. Like everybody felt it.
Kobe though, like Kobe's a superhero. Like there's one NBA player, I forgot who, was talking about how like I didn't believe the news. I figured he'd climb out of the helicopter fine. It's Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kobe's
right.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So maybe Jordan's happy, maybe he's not, whatever. But it seemed like to me, I don't know why, but I just had this whole feeling about watching Jordan like interview and answer all the questions. It wasn't really clear to me where the switch was from being, Jordan, pretty good player in college, going to NBA, whatever, and then like 2-time three-peat Jordan. I feel like there was like a switch somewhere, but I couldn't exactly tell where that happened. And I'm wondering if there was like something that happened in Jordan's personal life that he's like not telling people and like kind of hiding from everyone. Because I feel like you don't go from being like, Jordan in college and then getting drafted and being pretty good and then going from like Jordan's mythical creature that we know today. I feel like in a weird way he was like hiding something from his past that kind of triggered him to be the ultimate competitor. I could be way off, but this felt like that to me watching him like talk about, him being in his college days and then him being, a 2-time three-peat Jordan. Does anyone else have any thoughts about
I maybe
that?
can answer it a little bit in terms of coming from, like, we kind of talked about his family background, like where his mom, he's like, I don't want to go to Nike. And his mom's like, you're getting on that plane and you're going to Nike to have this meeting. Like, that's the kind of family he was raised in. And so he always respected authority to the point where most people don't. And like Dean Smith, like he would just, every word Dean Smith said, like he was on it, like he bought in, he was into it, where he had the talent to probably go above and beyond that. And so he kind of, that's why, he still was the third pick. Like he wasn't the unanimous number one pick in college. Like he kind of said, it didn't seem like he had that killer instinct. Gets to the NBA, in the first couple of coaches, it's run and gun. It's every single play is for Michael. It's the only way we're going to win is by giving the ball to Michael 20, 30 times a game, or for 20, 30 shots a game. And then the switch you might be talking about might be Phil Jackson. Because
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because he comes in, installs a totally different offense. It's not based on having the ball in Michael's hands 24 out of 24 seconds. Now, obviously, he's still very much, he's taken half the shots sometimes. He's got the ball at the end of the shot clock every single time. It's like he still had it, but he respected Phil Jackson and respected authority so much that I have to use my teammates. I have to play within the offense to a certain extent, So I think, does that kind of answer your question a little bit? That's kind of, I think
I would agree for sure. I think Phil Jackson was a major part of that transition into becoming like really one of the greats and like becoming more team focused and everything.
That's really interesting because I remember Michael saying that at first he didn't like Phil Jackson, but I think once he kind of understood what he was trying to do with him and trying to get his teammates involved, in a weird way, it kind of elevated Jordan to where he wasn't just a scorer on like an okay team. Now he was the main guy on the best team. So I guess maybe that is kind of answers.
Because think about it from his perspective. He scored like 38 points a game. He's like, okay, I scored 38 points a game. We got to the Eastern Conference Finals and lost. How is me scoring 30 points a game going to make us better? Like, I need to score 45 points a game for us to win. Like, that was his mentality, was like, and like the system he was in. And Phil Jackson kind of turned that on its head. And it took him a while because he's like, well, I lost scoring 39 or 38, so I need to score more. And Phil's like, no, you need just a little bit more from your teammates and just a tiny bit less from you so that it's not just you.
Okay,
someone needs to tell James Harden that.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Tell James Harden that. That's true.
Honestly.
Honestly. Yeah.
He also started lifting too at that same time. Like,
that's true.
I think there's something
that's part of it too.
I think there's something to your theory, Beza, of like something changed, and I think it was losing to the Pistons. It was just he could not handle losing to the Pistons again. He just wasn't gonna.
Yeah,
for sure.
Maybe it was
knew something needed to change.
Maybe it was Phil Jackson coming in and infecting the triangle into the system. It was him lifting weights for the first time, and then also losing the Pistons too. Maybe that whole storm of all those things made this mythical creature of Jordan that we know today.
Can I ask one question, Beza?
Anything.
Think about, I think the one aspect of Jordan that's not almost talked about enough is he was at the peak of his powers and just quit for a year and a half. Like just him, and not that he didn't have valid reasons, and his father died and he wanted to pursue something else, and like basketball had grown tired and the pressure and like the energy he was expelling. So like he had, everyone has their own reasons and they were perfectly fine reasons. But just imagine if LeBron, after like, his first championship with the Heat, just goes like, it's been like an 8-year run and I'm just so exhausted from being basically the best player. I'm just going to take a year and a half off. Like, just imagine what the world would do now if that had happened. Like, think about that in your peak, the peak of his powers, just saying like, I'm done for a little while.
But you know what? I think.
And then he did it again.
I think if LeBron did that, he will come in better shape than Jordan did coming in after his year and a half break. Because remember when Jordan came back after his year and a half break, he was not in shape. Like, they didn't win the finals that year. Like, he was not in shape to play. He had to take another 6 to 7 months to get back into shape. I think of LeBron with today's technology, with today's, diet and strength training and stuff like that, I think LeBron would be able to come back into full strength quicker than.
To be fair to Michael, he had spent like 12 hours a day trying to be the best baseball player he could be. Like, he literally was showing up like 3 hours before practice, doing 3 hours of hitting, doing practice, and then doing 3 hours of hitting after. Like,
wow.
And he did all of his lifting was different to try to be a baseball player. It's like, and then he just all of a sudden baseball strike happened. And he's like, okay, no, I'm going to play basketball. And he, like, a week later, he was trying to play in the NBA again. So like, it's somewhat excusable that he was a little rusty.
For sure.
For sure.
LeBron spends $1 million a year on his body too. So
True.
Yeah. A little different. Yeah.
It's a great
point.
But
it's your point does have some definitely valid.
So I got one more question. I was wondering, because now in the world of COVID-19 and wondering when sports is going to happen again, I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are. Like, when are we going to see an NBA game again? Like, when we do see them, will there be anybody in the stands? Like, will we be seeing just people on the court? Like, what do you guys think? What do you guys want to see?
I mean, I want to see NBA. I mean, as a Bucks fan, I think this really could be our year. So any NBA is better than no NBA. If the options are play and no fans versus not play at all, I'm taking play for sure. The UFC's done I've found that especially fascinating with the UFC, with UFC 249 and their 2 fight nights this past week. Like I've loved watching that. I found it more interesting. I think basketball is a little different. It'll be weird. It'll be really weird. But I still want to see it.
Like you said, Miske, there'll be no fans. They're trying, and the biggest thing, like, you know, I'm sure you guys have heard, like, baseball, their players union and the owners are so much against each other that it's like unreal. And the NBA has a slightly better relationship, and Silver is better at kind of weaving both of their hopes together. So I do think they're going to be able to come up with, hey, maybe 12 teams make the playoffs. There's some playing games. The first round might be 5 games instead of 7, but they're going to get it done. They're going to have a playoffs. Like, they just, there's results of, they did like an NBA player poll, and it was like overwhelmingly like, is basically, do you want to play this season, yes or no? And it was like overwhelmingly positive to yes. Other than apparently Bojan Bogdanovic decided to get season-ending surgery today.
Well, what the heck, dude?
Just said, screw it, I'm done. But NBA is going to be back. I don't know about the other sports. It'll be interesting. Baseball, they all hate each other, so I don't know.
Aren't they coming back July 5th, though? July 4th?
They're trying, but they're debating, like, the owners are trying to get salary cap in. Like, they're trying to basically, like, sneak that in as part of the, like, agreement.
Wow. Sneaky.
Yeah. And then they're trying to determine, like, salary because it's, well, the owner's like, we don't have any fans, so that's, like, 30% of our revenue. And so we should have, that should just be off the table. And, like, we should have to get more percent, you know, higher percentage because we're splitting the TV money only now. And the players are like, well, we don't care if there's no fans. And they're just kind of battling over how much to get paid. Where the NBA is more just like, yeah, we'll kind of just get paid whatever we're owed because we already played over half the season.
I think since the NBA, the season was almost already over. It's
right,
like,
exactly.
Let's finish it. Let's just, you know, have this not.
It's easier to figure out. Yeah,
I agree though with your point about Adam Silver. Is he's just so good at working between both sides. He's the most popular commissioner of my lifetime, at least. In that, everyone loves Adam Silver. I've never heard anyone be like, "Man, that Adam Silver sucks." Where every other commissioner ever is hated.
Right. Yeah, and everyone loved David Stern before him too, at least from a fan perspective.
And like, I mean, he was, he was popular in the NBA as well. Not quite as progressive as Silver, but he was popular. Will the NFL start on time, do you think?
I don't know.
Yes.
You think so?
I think it will without fans.
Is the live gate as big a deal in the NFL just because there's so few games? Like, is that going to be a big deciding factor?
Yeah, I think it is as big of a deal, though, because you got to remember, they're packing 80,000 people.
That's what I mean.
It's like 20.
Well, I mean, they're making way more from their TV contracts. I think they're not going to be hurting as much as people think they will, but they'll hurt a little bit.
Well, they could maybe even try to get better because, like, I mean, Bill Simmons obviously goes off on tons of different tangents, but he's, you know, maybe they do football on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they get more companies involved in the TV packages where Amazon has Friday night NFL football, you know, and just these things. And now the schedule just came out, so I guess maybe that's not as possible. But, you know, if they decide there's no fans all season, so it's not going to matter, they definitely could move things around and be more creative to try to get more money. But
they have some flex power because they can flex games in and out of Sunday night football. So
right, and
that's true.
I mean, yeah. The point is they could at least try to do things to make some of that money up, you know, tricking Amazon into paying $100 million a game or something, or I don't know.
Somehow, some way, right? Awesome.
I'd be upset if they started playing on Saturdays. That's a college.
They won't.
Well, part of that's assuming that if a college season is delayed, or, you know.
College season is happening because I think the Power 5 teams will leave the NCAA if.
No, the college football's happening. People don't realize the power those universities have. They're playing. It's happening.
The state of Alabama will secede from the union.
Yes, 100%. They don't care in the South. They're playing. They don't give a damn.
I'll petition for the Akron Zips to join them.
Yes. Go Zips.
Shout out Jared.
Gosh. That's a treat for the listeners.
The joke that
Little inside joke.
4 of us
Quite
got.
the inside joke.
I don't even know the joke. I really have no idea.
It's better that you don't, probably. I don't want to. I don't want to dive into that area of my life.
That's okay. It's okay. But we won't force it.
Of similar areas of life, Jesse, why is Rudy Gay the greatest player of all time?
Dude, he's still going. He's still on Spurs, right? Man, what a guy.
What a
Could have
guy.
been Kobe if he didn't get hurt.
Man.
All right, this has been a really long episode, so we got to wrap this up. It's been a long episode.
Yeah, this has been great, guys. Thanks for doing this. This has been really fun.
We appreciate you guys so much.
Of course.
Thank you for having me in the package finally.
Of course.
It was about time. We'll get Trent on next time.
Yeah, Jesse,
No way.
Jesse and I just want to make sure that no one ever has more appearances than Jesse or I. So just anyone starts
What are you guys back soon?
Understood.
tying us, just make sure you invite us both back.
Yeah.
Understood.
You want to be the Alec Baldwin of this podcast.
Sure.
I want to be the Tom Hanks.
Wow.
High bar.
Well, awesome. Do you guys want to plug anything or give your social media or anything for people to follow you? Or if not, that's fine. But Jess, you got anything?
No.
Wando. What about you, Wando? Anything for you?
You got a column, right?
I do
read your stuff.
Oh.
Do you read my stuff, Beza?
Every now and then.
Appreciate it. Well, it's usually on hjblogs.com because I write for the newspaper. You can follow me on Twitter, JJ_WANDO.
Love it. Miske, what about you?
I mean, y'all can follow me on Twitter if you want to see random sports and Survivor thoughts at Nick.
You were really into Survivor this year.
Yeah. I'm always into Survivor.
True. Yeah.
Now it's on Twitter.
I didn't know that. That's
I
terrific.
didn't know that either.
Well, the season 40 finale was this week, which
Good God. There's been 40 seasons?
40 seasons.
Okay.
Wasn't it like an All-Stars thing?
It was all winners. So it was all previous winners. So it was
incredible.
It was like the biggest deal ever.
I only know that because I follow you on Twitter. So everyone should follow Miske on Twitter.
Let's get a petition to get him on the show.
No, don't do that. Those don't work.
Yeah.
Put on the show.
You send in audition tapes?
I'm going through this cycle.
Oh, I would love to see
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That'd be huge.
Once you're officially ready to do that, you should come on the pod and it'll be the announcement of your campaign to be on Survivor.
I'll be there too. Don't worry.
Hell yeah, Jess. Come on. Wando.
I mean, I'm
welcome.
probably available if you want, Miske.
Wando.
Exclusive of this season 44 Survivor winner.
Hell yeah.
We got to get Beza on The Bachelor, too. That was our quest for like a month.
The Survivor audition process got nothing on the Bachelor audition process. Like, holy crap.
You actually hear there's a Buffalo guy who was almost on The Bachelor this past season.
Almost what on The Bachelor?
The guy from Bethel that I played with. He was like this close.
Wow. That's good, I guess.
No, I did not hear that a Bethel guy got
that wasn't
close
in the
to
paper.
almost being on The Bachelor.
Jacob, you played with
I can't
him.
believe that didn't make the news.
Yeah. Who was that?
You played with him.
Yeah, who was it?
I mean, I'll tell you after we're done recording.
Well, no
It's a
wonder we
secret.
didn't hear about it.
All right.
You guys didn't hear that the secret guy almost got cast on The Bachelor but didn't?
That will say
But I
on
can't
camera?
He
tell
was
you?
cast, but
Dude,
he actually was originally cast. But then
Oh my
they,
God.
like I said, we
I'm sure there's a lot of people that fit that category or that
This is
criteria.
madness. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for being on. This has been fantastic.
All right.
See you guys soon. Thank you guys so much.
See ya.
Beza, who's the guy?
We're recording.
We're not. I'll cut it out. It's fine.
Oh,
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't think I know him.
Leaving it in. I'm just kidding.
Got him.
I mean, I just love seeing like the progressive darkness.
I know it's really gotten. It's real, man. It's just in a green screen. This is real life.
The passage of time.
Guys, thanks again for watching our review of The Last Dance. You can follow us on Instagram, podcast, The Cook and the Coach. Also on Twitter at The Cook and the C1. You can follow me at Beza, Baeza, Tensaya, Tensaie. Ken, give me your socials.
I'm on Instagram, KPMartin2, KPMartin2. I also have a food page, Haymarket Catering, Also, I make music, and you can find it anywhere if you look up Kenny Martin Bucket List. So check it out.
Guys, thanks so much for listening. We will see you next time.
Goodbye.